Hello student, in this video we will learn about the chapter how do organisms reproduce, reproduction and its significance. So let's start this chapter by the animated story, so by which you can easily understand. Hi Danish. Hey Sam. You know, I was just watching a documentary on tigers. They were saying that tigers are on the brink of extinction. If measures are not taken, soon we may not have any tigers left. How's that possible? Sadly enough, tigers have been hunted down over the last few decades, and many of them don't find partners to reproduce to keep this species alive. I don't really understand. What is reproduction? Yes, Exi. I can understand why you are confused. Robots have no need to reproduce because they are created by the man. But living organisms on the earth need to reproduce to keep their species alive. It's because of the reproduction that you see millions of the organisms at the same time. In this chapter, we will going to learn describe the significance of reproduction. At the end of this lesson, you will be able to describe the significance of reproduction. So, as I was saying earlier, organisms reproduce to keep the species alive. For example, if tigers don't reproduce, we want to be able to save any more tiger in a few years. So, reproduction makes a new individual. You got it. But wait a minute, Sam. How did dinosaurs become extinct then? Didn't they reproduce? Well, there is another aspect to survival of a species. Environments can change drastically without the control of organism. Such an environmental change can kill a species. Scientists say that the earth was hit by the meteors that lead to the end of the dinosaurs. You know, the documentary also shows how human beings evolved from the speed. But you said reproduction produces organisms of a similar type. So how do features of organisms change through evolution? You have to understand that evolution is a long drawn out process that takes place over millions of the years. Organisms live together in a well-defined environment. During a reproduction, these organisms produce a body design feature suitable for that environment. For example, over a generation, giraffe eye develop a long neck to eat the leaf growing high up on the trees. How do they change their body design on their own? Well, it is a little different from the we designed you for sure. As long as some variation produced during a DNA replication. You must have studied at the school about how chromosomes in the nucleus of a cell carry the information for the inheritance of the feature from the parents to the next generation in the form of DNA, that is a deoxyribonucleic acid molecules. So, what happened during a reproduction is that a DNA copy created in replication, the DNA is not identically copied. This leads to a variation in the DNA. During the reproduction, these variations are passed on the offspring and then to the subsequent generation. Such variation can help a species survive adverse conditions. It is confusing, Sam. Let me explain this with an example. Suppose there is population of a bacteria living temperated water and the temperature increased due to the global warming. Many of these bacteria would die due to the increasing temperature. However, the DNA variation in some bacteria might be enable them develop to resistant to heat. The DNA of these heat resistant bacteria are then passed to its offspring and subsequent generation that leads to the heat resistant bacteria DNA. So DNA seems to be a very powerful. Yes, they sure are so. That's what they mean by survival of these fittest. Exactly. Just like we keep building better model of machines, nature enables the living organism to evolve into a stronger being through a DNA variation. This brings us to the end of this lesson on the reproduction and its significance. In the next lesson, you will learn about the modes of the reproduction in living organism. To reveal this key point covered in this lesson, please review the flashcard at the end of this lesson. Hi, I am Miss Curious. I live in your mind. I question things. That's how you learn and grow. Wondering what I am doing here? You know, she says that a lots of plants require only one parent plant to reproduce. She's planting some flowers and vegetables today. So I thought I can tag along. Shh. Here comes Arnold. Hi, Mom. The garden looks so colorful. And what are you planting this season? Well, just some roses, some pumpkins, and potatoes for the vegetable patio. You know, it's very interesting how you use seed to plant pumpkins, but a stem for a rose plant, and it look like you are using a whole potatoes too. That's true. But can you recall ever seeing a rose seed or a potato seed for that matter? No, I can't. You are right. They don't seem to have a seed at all, do they? These plants have lost their capacity to produce seeds. That's why sexual reproduction is not possible in these plants. So, they use their vegetative parts to reproduce. It's an interesting phenomena because not many animals can reproduce this way. In fact, depending on the body designs, various organisms reproduce in different modes. It's an interesting study. In this lesson, you will learn about the most of modes of the reproduction, the least the mode of reproduction in living organism, explain how the mode of reproduction of organism is related to its body design, explain how unicellular organism reproduce by fission, illustrate the types of asexual reproduction in multicellular organism like a fragmentation, regeneration, budding, vegetative propagation, spore formation, etc. Now let's relate the body design with the mode of reproduction. Living organism can be reproduced in a two mode of, that is of asexual and the sexual. The asexual mode of reproduction is when a single individual is responsible for creating a new generation of species. For example, new plants are grown without the production of seed. For example, sexual reproduction, in that the hibiscus plants, which is required two individuals to create a new generation of the species. So the germ cells of a two parent plants are combined to create the seed for a new plant. That's how the human beings and the animals reproduce. In plants, this mode of reproduction produce a seed which leads to reproduction. Here you can see the seed is growing into the new plant. See that hibiscus plant. Hibiscus cannabis use is their asexual as well as a sexual mode of reproduction. Let's first look at the simple mode of reproduction, that is asexual mode. The asexual mode of reproduction can take many forms: fission, fragmentation, regeneration, budding, vegetative propagation, and spore formation. Wow! So many ways of a reproduction. True. But let's begin at the very beginning. Can you think of a simple unicellular organism? How about amoeba? Good example. Amoeba is a unicellular organism that reproduces by the cell division. You mean a cell dividing into two or more cells? Exactly. It is also called a fission. The mother cells divide to form the daughter cells. Many different patterns of a fission have been observed in amoeba. In fact, in organisms like amoeba, the splitting of the two cells during a division can takes place on any plane. This is called a transverse binary fission. Oh, so do all unicellular organisms reproduce like that? Not really. Let's look at the unicellular organism that has a more organized body design. For example, the Leishmania. Leishmania have a whip-like structure at the one end of the cell. Binary fission occurs in the definite orientation in a relationship to the whip-like structures. Leishmania? The name sounds very familiar. Probably because it causes a back fever. Oh, interestingly, the malarial parasite Plasmodium is also a unicellular organism. Plasmodium, however, reproduces by the multiple fission. That is, it divides into many daughter cells simultaneously. Amazing how dangerous these small unicellular organisms can be. Not always though. Yeast is also a unicellular organism. Yeast, by the way, produces small buds that separates and grow further. And how about multicellular organism? Do any of them reproduce like a unicellular organism too? Well, multicellular organism can reproduce asexually as well as sexually. But to answer your question, some of the reproductive method used by the unicellular organism do work with a multicellular organism that have relatively simple body organization. Remember the slimy filamentous green masses that you can see developing on the surface of some ponds? That's Spirogyra. Spirogyra reproduces by the fragmentation. It simply breaks up into a smaller pieces upon the maturation. Oh, so each piece or a fragment grows into a new individual? That's right. What about the other multicellular organism? Why can't they reproduce by the fragmentation? Because they are not just a random collection of the cells. They consist of a specialized cells organized as a tissue. Tissues are organized into organ placed at a definite position on the body of the organism. Cell by cell division wouldn't lead to another individual in such cases, like a human beings. Can you imagine a brain cell breaking off and the developing into a complete human body? No, I see what you mean. So, what happened in reproduction of such an organism? They use more complex way of a reproduction. There is typically a single cell type in the organism that is capable of a growing, multiplying and the creating other cell type under the appropriate condition. This can be happen through regeneration, budding, vegetative propagation and spore formation. Regeneration involves development of a new individual from the body parts. For example, consider a fully differentiated organism such as a hydra or a planaria. This can be cut or broken down into many pieces. Each of these cut pieces can grow into a separate individuals. How does that happen? Remember, I was telling you that multicellular organisms have a specialized cells for the reproduction. Yes, much right. So, specialized cells are involved in a regeneration? Exactly. These cells proliferate into a large number of the cell. From these masses of the cell, different cells undergo change to become a various cell type and the tissues. I can't imagine an organism depending on the beam cutter to be able to reproduce. Can you? Regeneration is actually not the same as a reproduction. I decided to read up a bit more on it and found that hydra and the planaria can reproduce in other ways as well. By the way, regeneration is also called amorphallaxis. So, if not cut up, how would an organism like a hydra reproduce? Good question. Organisms like a hydra can also reproduce by the budding. They use regenerative cells for the reproduction in the process of budding. How's that? In hydra, a bud develops as an outgrowth due to repeated cells division at a specific site. Each such bud develops into a tiny individual hydra. Oh, so I guess they detach from the parent body when fully mature and become independent individuals? Exactly. Now let's get back to your original question about what I am planting here. Can you tell me which out of this plant reproduces asexually? I guess the rose plant. You planted just the same. That's right. Rose plants reproduce through vegetative propagation. Vegetative propagation involves the production of a new plants using the vegetative parts of an existing plant. Can you recall some other plants where the stem is used for the vegetative propagation? Let me think. That looks like something you could grow from a stem. How about sugarcane? Very good. You can grow a new sugarcane plant from a part of the stem of the parent plant. In fact, a similar method of vegetative propagation can be used for bananas, oranges and grapes. But what's that you have there? You seem to have tied to a rose stem together. Oh, that's called the grafting. Through the grafting, you can take vegetative propagation one step further and get some desirable characteristic in your plant. In grafting, the tissue of one plant are encouraged to fuse with those of the another. I grafted the stem of roses of two different colors. I am hoping to get a rose in a different shades as the characteristic of the two roses combine through the grafting process. You know, grafting is used in some interesting ways. Sometimes gardeners graft related potatoes and the tomatoes so that both are produced on the same plant, one above the ground and one under the ground. An amazing concept, isn't it? That sounds really cool. But how about a propagation through a leaf or a bud? Come over here. Let me show you. This is a bryophyllum leaf. See the buds on the tip of this leaf? When this leaf touches the moist soil, each buds grow into a new plant. This plant lets eventually drop off and root. Wow! That could be produce a lots of plants. But let's go in for a bit. I'm hungry. Can I have some butter toast? Quite a few plants here now. Now, do any of these propagate like the rose plant? Let's see. Marigold requires seeds. How about the money plant? Of course. I have seen Arnold's mom to put a stem of a money plant in a bottle of water and it grows into a plant. And the good thing is about it that money plant can be planted around the year. But be careful when taking a cutting. Look for the knots which have roots coming out of this plant. It's easy to plant and they have more chance to growing. Let's now get back to the Arnold's and his mom. Can you guess which other food plants propagate using its bud? Your favorite vegetables, potatoes. Potato itself is a horizontal plant stem with two shoots and the roots, usually on the ground. Thus, the stem serves as a reproductive structure. Such a horizontal underground plant stems are called rhizome. Look at this potato here. See those buds and the notches? If you cut a potato into a small pieces, each with a buds or a notch, and place them on a moist cotton piece, each piece could produce a new rhizome in a few days. Hey, that's quick. Don't seeds take a long time to produce new plant? They do. Vegetative propagation is generally faster than the sexual reproduction. That's one of its advantages. Can you think of other advantages of a vegetative propagation? Well, it requires only one parent, doesn't it? Good observation. But there is a more. Let's figure out what the other advantages can be. Remember, plants like bananas and the roses have lost the capacity to produce seeds. Vegetative propagation helps in the reproduction of such plants. Lastly, observe this rose plant and its parent plant. Can you make out any significant differences? Not really, right? plants produced through vegetative propagation are genetically similar enough to the parent plant to have all its characteristics. Okay, now for your breakfast. And where's the bread? Here it is. Looks like we forgot to keep it in the fridge last night. It seemed to have something growing on it. We can't use this bread. It's gone moldy because we left it outside in the moist air. This stuff is called mold. In biological term, it's called the rhizopus. Rhizopus is a simple multicellular organism. Rhizopus or a bread mold can grow when bread is exposed to the moist air. Remember I told you there are two methods of asexual reproduction in plant. Yes, of course. One is a vegetative propagation and the other is through spore. Very good. The growth of this mold is an example of asexual reproduction through spore formation. Let's see if we can identify the specific parts of this rhizopus. Take a close look of this mold. It grows on the bread in the form of bread-like structure called the hypha. So, where are the spores that help it reproduce? See, those tiny blob on the stick kind of structure? Yes, they seem similar to the stamen that we see in the flowering plant. These blobs are known as the sporangia, and these are the structure involved in the reproduction. They contain cells or spores that can eventually develop into a new rhizopus individuals. These spores are very light. They are covered by the thick wall that protect them. So, how exactly do these spores develop into a new rhizopus? When the sporangia mature, they release a spore. The spores keep floating in the air and eventually attach themselves to a surface that is moist and it is start growing. Can you figure out which of the plant here reproduce with the help of spores? Let me see. Don't this fan have a spores? Correct. A fern is a rhizopus that uses spores to reproduce. Now since there is no bread, let me make you some pancake for you. Well, let's leave Arnold to enjoy his breakfast. Meanwhile, I have some more interesting information for you. I read about a new advancement in a technology that gives us another asexual method for the propagation of the plant tissue. The interesting thing about the tissue culture is that it enabled us to produce exact copy of the plant in a sterile condition. Just think, this technique can enable production of exact copy of the plants in the absence of seeds. Help us to produce the plants from the seeds that otherwise have very low chances of the germination and the growing. For example, in the case of orchids and the nepenthes, enable us to clean a plant of a viral and other infection and quickly multiply. Let's take a quick look at how tissue culture is done. Tissue or the separating cells are removed from the growing tip of the plant. The removed cells are placed in an artificial medium where they divide rapidly to form a small group of cells called the callus. The callus is transferred to the another medium that contains the hormones for the growth and the differentiation. Here, Each callus grows into a plantlet. Each plantlet is then placed in the soil so that it can grow into a mature plant. So, that was a great session on the methods of reproduction in living organism, wasn't it? You learnt about the various methods of the asexual reproduction in unicellular as well as multicellular organism. To revisit the key points covered in this lesson, please review